One thing people don't really talk about with frats is the fact that a lot of what you do there actually isn't optional. You have to show up or you're going to be fined. And I used to be in a frat about 6 years ago. And so I'm just going to share with you a certain aspect that I thought was very interesting. It was positioned very interestingly, and you'll see in a moment what I mean. But it was philanthropy events. Philanthropy, I didn't even know what that word meant, but basically it's all kinds of charity work and community service type of stuff. So philanthropy events were the big one, and everybody treated them in the frats and in general like it's this big noble thing. And on the surface, I mean, yeah, like it's supposed to be a good thing, but nobody actually liked it. Nobody. Do you imagine like a frat student, frat boys wanting to go and do community service? The same guys that all they do is party, but they want to go and also do community service. It is not there for that purpose. And I'll get to the purpose in a moment. But in general, we had to go to those events. Otherwise, we'll get, fined or derogatory marked, those points you collect that is basically like deductions. And eventually you get kicked out of the frat if you don't show up. So you had to show up to all kinds of events, including those ones. So just to be fair with everyone, right? And yeah, they talk about it like it's their core value, but the real reason, the real purpose of why frats actually did philanthropy is because that allowed them to stay as an on-campus organization. So if you think about it, why would a university allow an organization like a frat to be on campus? Because all frats do are party. Well, that's the general consensus. Like, it's just guys that want to party, really. That's why people join them. So what value does it bring? So when a frat says, hey, we actually do philanthropy events, we're about that stuff, and they build a lot of value on it. Well, now the university's like, all right, sounds good. These guys are good. And we never actually call anything partying. We call those things completely different names just so that the word doesn't get around. But that's basically how a lot of frats operate inside universities as official on-campus organizations. And funny thing is, so just fast forward to the actual story here, I found myself at one of the philanthropy events that I had to do. And that was when I was more of a pledge. Like, I was just starting out. I was part of the recruiting process. We went to a homeless shelter. I found myself at a homeless shelter. Now, yeah, what's wrong with that? Well, first off, once again, I am absolutely uninterested in any of that. And I don't have a strong opinion about it. I was just, the last people that I would ever think of is drug addicts on the street. Like, that's the last possible people that I'm going to be thinking of. So I would have never imagined that I would find myself in a homeless shelter. So a couple other guys and me, we pull up to the homeless shelter, and of course it's in downtown, in the city, on that street where all the homeless people were. That's all the druggies, all the violence, all the weird stuff going on. And there's a little house there that we walked up to, and as soon as we got out of the Uber, it felt so unsafe. Because it's not safe. Let's be real here. It's not safe. These people, and I don't really have anything against them particularly. Maybe some people actually are struggling. But I'm saying in general, from an outsider, these guys, it's homeless people. They're violent. They're on drugs 24/7. They yell, they shout, they throw stuff, they follow you sometimes. And they can carry all kinds of diseases. Who knows? And now suddenly, the same street I would walk all the way around of, I would never walk through it. It's a street that everybody avoids. Suddenly, I find myself right there in the core of it. And I'm like, all right, what am I doing here? How did I get here? And At the same time, on the surface, everyone's pretending that, oh wow, we're gonna do a good thing here. Like we're gonna help these people. Like yeah, we're gonna help that one guy who just threw a bottle at the wall. Like yeah, that's the people we're helping. Great. Found nothing better to do with my time, clearly. So we go in there. It's very uncomfortable because I never imagined I'd be this close to one of those people, to one of those homeless people who is on something. Because obviously, as you're going through the door, they're all around, they're everywhere, and they're also looking at you like, who the hell are these people? And inside, there was like this little booth. Imagine when you go into a fast food place, there's like a Subway. Yeah, you guys been to a Subway, right? Where you can make your own sandwich and you tell them the ingredients. Well, it was the exact same thing in there. There's like a little cafeteria and the booth where they got their food from. And I was like, whoa, well, this is very proper. These guys have a whole cafeteria. No wonder they can stay out here for as long as they want. They get fed properly. And some of us were offered to stay upstairs and serve the homeless people the food. They're going to come up to you. You're supposed to understand what they're saying, and you're going to get a plate, and you're going to give it to them and all that stuff. And another part of us was asked to help organize a lot of the proceeds that they're getting, a lot of the, not proceeds, just the food banks and the food they get, whatever. I picked the other option. I was like, no way in hell I'm talking to these people. Just no way. I'm barely even in here right now. I do not want to be in this kind of danger. I felt extremely unsafe. Like, all of us did, but I ended up going into the basement of that house. And when I walked in there, I was absolutely mind-boggled. I have never seen anything like this. I didn't know this even exists to such an extent. What I saw down there was a full-on supermarket. Like a whole-ass grocery store. There has been everything. It was all there. I shit you not. The house was tiny, but the basement was massive. It was a warehouse. It was like, there was everything there. I was shocked how much donations and the funding that this place received. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just shocked in general. I thought homeless people are generally struggling, as we're all told. They're struggling. They need food. Give them money. Give them food. They don't need food. That place can feed them forever. And great, they can have it. I'm not saying we need to take it away or that we need to not, give food away. Fine, whatever, if that's what you want to do. I'm just saying there's more than enough. I thought there was a shortage. We're always told that we need to donate. In school, if you guys were in school, in elementary school, we're like, hey, today all of us are bringing in our canned goods that we're not using as families, and we're going to drop them off into this basket, and this is going to go to the homeless shelter. And we all did that as kids, and now it's like, I was like, oh my god. It's like adding a drop of water to an ocean. Whatever we were doing, I'm sure it's a congregation of all the donations, sure, but the extent that it was, I was shook. And I looked at the other guys and I was like, have you guys seen this before? And they're like, are you kidding me? These guys are funded. They're loaded. At least it's nice to see that it's not all pocketed, that it actually does go to the food in that case. But yeah, we walked through these hallways and hallways until they showed us the room that they needed help. Because the crazy part, here's actually something really crazy as a side note, it was female workers there. Females worked there, young girls. It wasn't grown-ass women who can at least stand for themselves or they can, handle situations. It was girls that were more or less in their 20s. And eventually I realized a lot of them were also doing these community service hours because they were trying to get into med school, which is another scam. Like, why is a doctor supposed to collect community service hours through serving homeless shelters? How does that link up? But it somehow did. And a lot of them said, yeah, we need our applications to med school to look great, so we're doing all kinds of service that we can. That's why they're there. And I just thought, I, as a man, as a young guy, feel so unsafe in the whole place. It sucks there. Like, forget about the smells and everything. It's just, those people are actually dangerous. There's no security, nothing of the sort. What happens if someone goes on a rampage? And I'll get to that, because of course you cannot leave one of those places without a incident. I'll get to that, but there's no security. Like, what are you supposed to just call the police and wait for the police to go and, I don't know, stop people from fighting or something? Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sit here and talk badly about people. They're also people. I get it. They're also people, and maybe some of them are actually struggling with stuff, but that's a small percentage. Most of them are just drunk and alcoholics and high and violent. And I'm just speaking from experience as an outsider. This is what I'm seeing. That's just what I see. I don't want to be in that situation. Neither should those people, the girls that work there, and they don't get paid either for that. They said it's just volunteer work. No security, nothing of the sort. And I just thought, this is really weird. This is just super weird. And, we started sorting stuff. We were supposed to unload boxes, stock the shelves with all the stuff. And to just talk a little bit more about the kinds of products, it wasn't all cans. It was like every cereal box you could find, all types of cereals. And obviously there's not going to be like fresh produce, obviously, although there was a small section for that which had to go out immediately. But there was like freezers full of milk, like cheese, whatever you want. There's meats. I'm talking not just canned foods. I'm talking full-on grocery store, supermarket. Everything is there. Everything a human could possibly need in terms of like food and stuff, even toiletries, whatever. Everything's there. So we were stocking that stuff for a while, and then we thought like, all right, how long are we supposed to be here for? Because we don't even have a time limit. We don't know anything. We were told we're supposed to go to this community center and just knock on the door and be like, hello, we're gonna help. That's literally the whole setup. We're gonna come here to help. And they're supposed to let us in. Like that's the premise of how we went there. And then we're supposed to report to the frat that we did these community service hours, and we completed that check mark for our pledging thing. And yeah, obviously, people already know the fact that frats have a lot of weird rules, but I'm just saying this one was by far just strange, and everyone pretends to like it, and nobody actually likes it, and people try to not go to these events. Everybody talks about that, but it's mandatory. And anyway, after we finished that, luckily what eventually led to us going home, so that we weren't there for that long, we were probably like 2 hours, was a ruckus we heard upstairs. We heard something break, we heard something fall, it was a bunch of sounds. And naturally I was like, okay, damn. And as the guys we're curious, we're gonna go upstairs and check it out. And what we see there is literally a girl carrying a tray of food that works there, volunteers, like those med school students, or to be med school students. And classic, the homeless man went on a rampage. He threw some tables, knocked some shit over, food is everywhere, and she's standing there with this tray that's like food has just gone everywhere, and she's just terrified. She is petrified. Like, petrified, I mean, Medusa looked in her eyes, and she went stone. And, I mean, we were there, so we're like, all right, like, let's get her away from there. One of the guys took her away. We went behind the counter, because the only safe space was basically that counter, that whole booth where the food is served. You have to go behind it, and there's a door that has a lock. Even though they can technically jump over, but they're too clumsy for that. So that's the safe space. So they got her back there, and she was just like, what the hell? And she said it's okay, it happens every now and then. I was like, it happens every now and then? Like, how is this okay? How is this going on? I get it, these people need help. Nobody wants to help, whatever. I get that, but this is what people go through that actually do this stuff. And we were there for just one short evening. It was probably 6, 7, 8 p.m. And after that, we're like, well, let's just stay up here a bit until the noise settles down. That guy left. He just ran out the door. We don't know what he said. He was mumbling something. And, you know, the girl cleaned it all up, and we kept serving the food. I think I served like one tray. It just felt so weird. I was like, all right, here you go, man. And he's just like, just takes it. And it's just, what is going on here, right? And yeah, that was that. That's the end. We got out of there like it was a bad nightmare, and called an Uber, got in. It was just so weird as well, waiting outside for the Uber, and all these homeless people are just crowding, and they're kind of looking at you, and they're all carrying their bags. And you know, a lot of homeless people have stuff with them. But don't get me wrong. I hope you guys understand the message correctly. This isn't a video about hating on homeless people. I don't really have a strong opinion on those. It's not something I'm interested in at all. Maybe I think if donations are to be made, it should be done in a certain way, whatever. The point is of the story here is the fact that frats do this stuff, and honestly, I'm just kind of calling it out for what it is, because a lot of frats and organizations hide behind this wall that they're all these noble people that do philanthropy events, not just party animals, but nobody likes those events, and most people try not to go to them as much as possible, or as less as possible. And then the whole side of what actually goes on in a homeless shelter, because I have never been before, I was never interested, and for once I was basically forced to go there. Well, not very forced, I guess. I could have said no and just not joined the frat, but I think it was worth the experience. I'm not mad about it, but that's how that went. And one more thing, if you guys actually want to learn lessons on speech communications, improving your relationships with women, with friends, family, sales, jobs, and such, then no pressure. Feel free to check out the link in the description. That's the community I'm building. Other than that, thank you for watching.